we have got Jeremiah Holmes today. Um, Jeremiah, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do, where you're from?
Well, my name is Jeremiah Holmes. I live in Spray, Oregon. Actually, I live in a little town just outside of Spray called Service Creek with a population of about two, but it's unincorporated. Um, I work for the sheriff's office and have for the last 7 years, 8 years, 7 years, a little over 7 years.
Yeah,
Um,
going
yeah,
on your 1 year anniversary as county sheriff, is that right?
yep,
Or
just just
just past
past,
it?
yep, just past that benchmark.
That's right. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations. And Spray, as many people know that watch and listen to the podcast and know us, is the home of our favorite rodeo. We did 31 rodeos last season, and nothing tops Spray. We love that place. We can't actually just talked to Anna yesterday, so we'll be seeing you guys again this season for the rodeos.
awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
we love it out there. Last year we went out, had a great time, and then decided to take the river back to the highway. So we went all the way down along the John Day, and I mean, talk about God's country, man. There's just nowhere like it. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous there. We
Yeah.
love it. So I'll be seeing you again. Well, a couple months, right?
Yeah.
Two,
Lord
3 months.
willing, be Memorial Weekend into May.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Business partner Josh, I think he might be taking over on the merch side for the rodeo too. So we may have spoiler alert, everyone. Don't hold me to this, but there may be an actual spray rodeo merch booth this year. So
Oh, wow.
exciting. Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
So I know you and I are both men of faith. When we met, it was last year at Spray, obviously. The first time that I saw you, you were preaching Cowboy Church at the rodeo. I believe it was you and your wife was there, as did worship service, and then you held a service there, and then we had a conversation afterwards. And so I just wanted to dig in real quick about your history of faith and kind of where your faith came from. Was it early on? Have you been a man of faith your whole life, and kind of what that looked like in your early life?
Okay. Okay. So I actually was born and raised in Minnesota,
Okay.
a little town called Hinckley, Minnesota. I grew up pretty much going to church my whole life. Um, I would say that it was more of a religious thing to me at that time.
Sure.
Went to a couple Bible camps. I accepted Christ as my Savior at Grindstone Lake Bible Camp, actually back in Minnesota. But as I got into my teenage years, as with probably a lot of us, I could answer the questions. You'd see me at church on Sunday and probably see me at youth group on Saturday, but that's not how I lived the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Um, I, at the age of 15, I went to Oklahoma City, horseshoeing school, and became a farrier. And that's what I did for a living for just under 10 years. We moved out here. Oh, shoot. It was probably moved to Oregon in 2003, I think it was. And we moved back to Minnesota for about a year, a couple of years later, and then moved back, and we've been here since. Uh,
What brought on the move? I mean, that's quite a move to kind of a random, place on the map. What prompted you guys to move this way?
so I spent, as I said, I spent probably 9, 10 years underneath of a horse, and I decided I wanted a cowboy. If you'd asked me early on in life, I didn't know there were any ranches in Oregon. And so, as it worked out, I met a couple in Dillon, Montana. I worked at a place there just outside of Dillon, Montana for a winter, and ended up moving, working on the GI ranch there for. I did two tours. I was there for a couple of years, and then I was gone, and then I came back for a couple of years, and then ended up actually in Spray. And what brought me to Spray was a ranch. I was working on the 4J. I worked there for oh shoot, I think it was just under 11 years, 10 years I managed the ranch.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so I mean with that, so you've had God in your life, and of course, like you said, probably with most of us, we stray. I grew up the same way in church. Mom and dad were, worship leaders, and mom, made Christian music albums growing up, and of course I was, youth group, the whole nine yards, and then really just, completely ran away from all that in the in-between days. And then came back, played the part, on Sunday and on Wednesday at youth group, and it wasn't until, oh, I'd say probably 6 years ago that I really dug back in and turned my life back around. So I spent a lot of time, you know, living the wrong way. And um, we all go through some pretty difficult stuff. And I see now that, had I had the relationship that I have now with God back then, I think I would have been a lot more, I know I would have been a lot more equipped to deal with, a lot of the crazy things life throws at us. Um, and I know that your testimony is a strong one and a hard one. Um, but I'm just curious, I don't want to dig too far in if you're not comfortable, but I know that we're also coming up on about a year of loss of your son. Um, and I mean, I can't imagine outliving one of my kids. So that's for a father, I think probably worst case scenario, when it comes to testing our resolve as a man, testing our faith, testing us as a husband and father. I just, it's just an unimaginable thing. And so I'm just curious how you've been able to reconcile things and lean on God through that process, um, to make it out the end, you know, still one piece as a whole man.
Yeah, you're right. It'll be a year on the 28th of this month. So we're just about to the year mark. As you mentioned, I was sworn in as sheriff on January 6th. And so it was just about 3 weeks after that my son was in a ranch accident, loading some panels by himself, and the panels pinned him in the trailer. Um, I was on duty that day
Yeah.
and got the call. Um, it's been a tough go. You mentioned earlier about 6 years ago, you kind of turned around and got more serious, I guess, with your faith, is I think the way you said that. And for me, it was probably about 10 years ago. I was managing the ranch yet at the time and was introduced to a kind of a preacher in over in the East Coast and the Carolinas, and listened to some messages of his, and they really struck me to the core. And I kind of gave my life back to Christ. It was about that time that I started teaching at the Sunday school, the adult Bible study at church. And I say all this to kind of build up to where I'm at now, and what's walked me through this. Um, as anybody who's a parent knows, when we become parents, it's not like we go through a trial. We don't go through a school. We just kind of all of a sudden we're parents, and we try to learn what we can and read what we can, and we all make mistakes as we kind of walk through the parenting thing. Um, and I had three kids. The son that passed away was my middle one. Um, and yeah, on January 28th, this past year, 25, he went home to be with the Lord. And I think initially for me, um, I was I wanted to be solid and strong for the family.
Yeah.
Um, I have, with teaching at the church and with my devotional and Bible reading that I've done, I have a fairly good understanding of what faith is. But man, there's nothing that can prepare you for something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the time, I tend to be very for me, I tend to be very focused at my work and focused at what I do. And so initially, I kind of just put my head down. We had a lot to get through. Um, my son was married, had a couple kids, um, and it was just a difficult time. But for me, I think it really affected me about 3 months in. Every day you wake up, you think, this is a dream. It's going to be past you as a uh, anything else that I've been through in life. You, um, I usually can get through it, and it's with the Lord's help. It's not just on my own, but you kind of eventually get to a point where it's past you, right? And you look at it in the rearview mirror, and something like this doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Um, and so I struggled. I would say in that 4 month period to 7 month period, um, as a dad, as a husband, everybody goes through grief differently. Trying to understand what stages and how everybody goes through grief is difficult.
Yeah.
Um, and I still don't think I understand it. And I know I don't understand it. Um, it's been through this year where I realize how many others have been through the very thing that we have been through, or worse. Others that have reached out. Um, the support system here in this small community. I mean, um, you see it at the Memorial Day weekend rodeo, but the support that was generated to our family in that first month, 2, 3, was nothing short of amazing to me, and a
Yeah.
testament of where people's hearts really are at when things are rough. Um, a lot of us see what's going on in the news, and I know it what's in the news is real for the most part. I mean, it can be slanted, but genuinely people want to help, and it was definitely shown to us through that time.
Yeah, I think that's a testament also to not only small town Oregon, but small town America.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and that's one of the reasons that we love Spray is because everyone is so welcoming. Everyone's so down to earth. I mean, most people are pretty honest, hardworking, regular people and decent human beings. And that was another thing that I wanted to touch on. I mean, before I go there, I think that obviously we have a tendency as men, and being created by God in a way that we are, sort of obligated to be that rock and that base of logic and the calm in the storm for those around us, especially as um, the head of the family and the head of the household, to be the one to hold down the fort while everyone else grieves. And it can be tough because we know, you've got to have your time at some point too. But I think as men, a lot of times we have a tendency to delay that so that
Mm-hmm.
other people can have their time, which is tough because, for me, um, in situations like that, not with a child, but, with my father and grandmother and grandfather and certain things, my father died a slow, painful death, where I had to basically, care for him in the end. Changing his diapers and, showering my father was not something I ever foresaw in my future,
Yeah.
Um, and then in the end, to be the one to have to make the call, when his brothers are saying, just hold off another week so we can get down and see him, and to see the pain and suffering he's going through, to make the call to finally say, sorry guys, if you guys can't make it, I can't let him continue to live like this.
Right.
And so our ability to, and even in police work too, your ability to stop, assess the situation, stay calm, stay focused, be logical, um, I think is a God-given thing, but also can be dangerous in a way where it can all come crashing down at some point. You can only hold that for so long before you break, and so to balance that and to manage that without God, in my life would have been impossible. And, having him to lean on and his word to look at and the support system, people around me. Of course, again, we have this tendency to, I'm okay, I'm fine, when we're not. You know what I
Right.
mean? So,
Right.
um, but that rolls into my next question. As a sheriff out there, Wheeler County, obviously, like we said, small town Oregon, great people. I'm sure you deal with your fair share of, riffraff and, probably just your average, kids screwing around doing dumb kid stuff and things like that. But do you find it? Because I have a lot of friends here. I live in Eugene, which is not Wheeler County
Right.
by any stretch, in many ways. And I have friends on the force here, both county and city guys over here. I don't have any buddies on the state. Anyway, might be a reason for that. Um, but, and they're men of faith. They find it, not to get political, but I guess in a more liberal area like I'm in, they find it difficult to find creative and not sneaky ways, but just subtle ways to profess their faith in their occupation. A buddy of mine was just telling me he's with the county sheriff over here in Lane, and was just we had this conversation. Was just telling me about a vet that was going to commit suicide and how he used his faith to talk the guy down. They had a great conversation. He prayed with him, and I think, as much of a shame as it is over here that that's, I guess, sort of frowned upon to bring religion into work, would you say that in small town Oregon and probably across the nation, it's easier to be a well-known man of faith in your profession, or is it still something statewide in every county that you kind of really got to walk, kind of toe the line on?
I think it is easier. Um, I'm kind of in a completely unique and blessed situation in terms of, yes, we have our things that we deal with. We basically will have just about any call that they will have in Eugene or Portland. It just is uh, maybe months apart or years apart, in time frame. Our population here is, a little over 1,400 year round,
Except for
um,
one day
except for one weekend,
or
which
one
it,
weekend.
yeah, it ends up about four times that population.
Yeah,
But, I, as a kid, I grew up seeing some of the Andy Griffith reruns, and I would have never thought I was ever going to get in law enforcement. But in a lot of ways, we have that type of area. In other words, because there's only 14, little over 1,400 residents, and I've been here now going on, well, in Wheeler County, I've been here now since 2008. So I'm closing in on 18 years. I know almost every single person by name.
yeah.
Um, the lion's share of them anyway, unless there's some new ones that have moved in, and so they know who I am as being part of the church for so long. A lot of them recognize me or know me from being involved in the church, and so there's times where in my situation, I'll get a call on my personal phone, which is when I started out for the sheriff's office. We were using our personal phones. Um, and I'll get a phone call on my personal phone for something that's going on. And it could be completely a law enforcement thing, or it could be, something that started out as a law enforcement thing. And now they want to have, they want to talk to me about something in a counseling sort of way. And so um, for me, I think early on in my life, as a believer, I was definitely more religious minded. I mean, I grew up more of a Baptist type background, not necessarily Baptist, but that was the background that I grew up in the Midwest, and so
Sure.
very very much rules oriented, and I didn't really understand the Holy Spirit at all. I'm not. I still don't understand it 100% by any means, but I I do believe that the Spirit of God will give you a nudge when you're supposed to say something when you're not,
Oh yeah.
um, and I will you I listen for that when I'm dealing with a call specifically. If it's something that's mostly verbal in nature, to see what I'm supposed to say and where I'm supposed to say it. It's not always well taken in the country, across the country, when people start talking about God or anything like that. But I do believe that if we are supposed to say something, we need to recognize the nudge of the Spirit and not just uh, give our opinions when our opinions come to our mind and just blurt them out. I think we should absolutely be sensitive to the appropriate timing that goes along with that.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. That judgment and that um yeah, that prompting by the Holy Spirit is important. And there was a time when I actually right before we started 8 Seconds Strong, when I was having those conversations with my friends who were in law enforcement about possibly going that route. And I had to put a lot of prayer behind that. And I just felt pulled into something where I could be a lot more um, overt about faith and really push it out there. And so, which has turned, 8 Seconds Strong as a rodeo clothing brand is more of a ministry now for young rodeo athletes and queens and others than anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a calling that, I mean, even just 2 years ago, if you told me this is where God was pulling me to, I would have laughed at you. I have. There was nothing throughout my entire life that could have told me that this is where I would end up and this is what I would be doing. But again, even in the booth, when people come up to us, and they're checking out our stuff, it's pretty obvious that we're a Christian country. I mean, you can't really get around it when you come in the booth. It's all over the place. But um, even there, again, with our intention being outreach and our intention being sharing the good news, those conversations sometimes have to be very delicately approached and started, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, huge believer on, and sometimes, we'll have upwards of 300 people in the booth a day. And so you really got to pay attention to what the Holy Spirit's
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah.
do I say something to this person or that, and so I don't always get it right because I'm just like you. I don't pretend to understand the Holy Spirit, even half of it, but I know it's there and I know our best course of action is to listen. So,
Mm-hmm.
we try. So you are part of a church over there, pastor of a church, or I'm just curious what other, aside from, pastoring over there at the rodeo, what other ministry outreach do you do over there in the county?
So we currently do not have a pastor. We haven't had a pastor now for, I'm thinking 6 years, seven. Oh, it's probably longer than that, 8 years now. We went without a pastor for 3 or 4 years, and then we hired a pastor, and he was there for about a year, and then he moved on to something else, and then we were left without. And so what we chose to do as elders, I was on the elder board at the time and still am, is we just rotate. So we take turns. So there's four of us right now. We take turns every fourth week, and if somebody's got something going on, we'll sub in or swap out or whatever needs to be done to make sure that that's covered. Um, and so we actually haven't even been looking for a pastor now for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of cool, actually, the way you guys
it
are doing
is. It is. Um, there's been several different individuals that have done rodeo church throughout the years that I've been there. I'm not even going to try to say names because I won't remember get somebody, but about I think last year was my third year of doing it. Um, I was of the group of guys that are the elders at the church that I work with there. I guess I'm uh, the cowboy of the bunch or the guy that's got the horses and has been spent most of the time with the horses. And so it was kind of just, I think I drew the short straw is probably the
You're the
best way
obvious
to say that.
choice for that one,
Yeah.
Jeremy.
And so, and I enjoy it. Even even now today, I, my background, I was homeschooled all my life, from fifth grade on, I think. And so public speaking is not my expertise.
Sure.
I was the one that sat in the back of the room and hoped nobody chose me. And when it came to doing anything in front of the public eye, I would make sure that I was sick or not there, or absent or hiding or something. And so public speaking's always been a difficult thing for me, but um, I know that that's what God wants me to do,
Yeah.
and it has shown itself more and more. It says that through our weakness, He is made strong. So anything that I do in the terms of public speaking or anything public, I know is not of me, because if I had my way, I'd be on a horse somewhere 10 miles away from the nearest person and dealing with cows instead of people.
Yeah. It's something, and for the record, you did a great job. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you do it again this year. But I think just so you can appreciate that we appreciate it, I guess. A lot of us, rodeo athletes and us vendors, we spend a lot of time on the road, you know that. And me being a big part of my church here in town, we run 3 services every Sunday. I usually serve at 2 services, either as security or I help in the parking lot or an usher or whatever they need me doing. I was flipping pancakes on Sunday this last weekend, serving people free pancake breakfast. So, and I get a lot of fulfillment out of serving my church and my community through my church. And so to be on the road, um, you know, 10 months out of the year and not having a single Sunday at home, it gets really difficult to refill your cup. And I'll tell you what, the rodeos that I appreciate the most are the ones with a cowboy church where I can go on a Sunday while I'm out on the road and have me some church because, and I travel a lot with my business partner, Josh, who's also a strong Christian, and so we're able to fellowship with each other. But that feeling of fellowship once a week is really that kind of recharge to start my week and to, just put my head in a good place. And so for a lot of athletes, and I'm trying to bring that on the road with me for a lot of these athletes who they love the Lord and they just don't have time to go to church. I mean, rodeos are on Sunday, man, and just there's no way around it. And so, and that's part of our mission is to kind of try to bring a little more church to the rodeo scene and help a lot of these kids, um, at least get a little bit of church or some fellowship in them while they're on the road. And so, just so that we appreciate very much what you guys do by holding the rodeo, cowboy church at the rodeo on Sunday. So, thank you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I got another weird little tidbit for you. I was looking you up. I actually Googled you. Believe it or not, yes, you're on Google, and saw a clip of you on TV, Unsolved Mysteries. Don't sigh.
Sure.
You knew I was going to bring it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
didn't go into detail about what it was, but I saw it and I went, what in the world is Jeremiah doing on Unsolved Mysteries? A show that I used to watch as a kid, used to scare the crap out of me. Um, But yeah, you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Because people are going to look it up now.
yeah. So I think it was my first year, might have been the tail end of my first year working for the sheriff's office. I We had a cattle mutilation right outside of Fossil, and what was kind of intriguing to me about it was um, when I first moved to Oregon and I was working down on that ranch down south, the GI. I hadn't been there. I hadn't been there a year, I don't think, and we had one down there, and it was several animals. If I recall right, it was 2 or 3 animals or something like that. And I remember going riding down there with a manager at the time, and I mean, I was not. I mean, we had cattle growing up, in Minnesota, but it's farm country. And so, somebody who might own 50 head of cows and they're running them on 200 acres for the whole year. I mean, we don't cover much country out there. We get a lot of rain. And so, seeing the mutilations when I was there down at the GI, it was kind of almost surreal. The hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I didn't really know what it was about, and it kind of intrigued me, and it was kind of strange. And
Yes. Anyway, you were saying how strange it was to see those mutilations out there.
it was, and so I moved to Spray, and I saw an article, I think, in the Capitol Press about a couple other mutilations that happened over Grant County, Harney County way, if I recall right. And it just so happened about a year or so later, we had one here. And so I was the ag guy, the ag deputy. I mean, I've been around cattle and horses my whole life, and so I kind of was the one to kind of look into that. And the first one we just did an investigation, couldn't really come up with anything. Never ever did come up with anything yet, but we had a second one just a few months later, and so we put it out on Facebook. I'm never been much of a, I never was in Facebook at all, never had an account or anything until after I got in law enforcement, but it served me well for finding people with lost wallets or things like that and getting a hold of people. And so we put it out on Facebook, and I guess it just kind of went everywhere. And then before long, it was Unsolved Mysteries, and there was another couple that was doing a documentary series on it. And so I've been filmed a little bit here or there, and I'm by no means an expert. I think what allows me to understand a little more is that I have that cattle background, I have the ag background, and
Yeah.
so I can recognize, when something is not normal in terms of, if a cow has got a fever and she's sick, she's probably going to end up at water before she dies, and that's not something that most law enforcement investigators would know offhand. I mean, there's a lot of them out there that do have cattle, but by and large, most of them don't.
Yeah.
And so it's allowed me to weed through some of the, uh, I guess, the speculation of what's out there. But I mean, I don't think we're any closer to knowing who or what it is that's causing this, other
So you
than
haven't seen Bigfoot out there.
I have not seen Bigfoot out there.
Oh,
No.
dang it. Well, there goes my last question then. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
just kidding. No, that's it's interesting. It's kind of spooky, man. Honestly. And the way they film it and the way they edit it and kind of darken it up a little bit makes it super spooky with the little music in the background. They probably make it a little more than it really is. But I thought
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah.
well, I don't want to take up a whole bunch of your time, Jeremiah, but I really appreciate I know it's been kind of a back and forth tag team trying to get you on here and I know we all get busy. You're just as busy as me, if not busier. So I appreciate the time. You're doing God's work out there, and I can't wait to see you guys again out there at the rodeo and sit through another Sunday with you and the missus up there.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
All right, well, come find me when you get there and come say hi, give me a hug. We'll be around, and I might have a surprise for you. We'll see.
All righty. Appreciate it.
Yep, enjoy.
Yep. Have a good afternoon.